I'm Nate Eaton, and I'm chatting with Saul Hernandez on Zoom today. Saul, we, of course, well, at least I was a little surprised on Friday when Lori Vallow Daybell's attorney filed a motion for a new trial. And they list a few reasons in the motion. One of them, based on some of the things that we discussed at our interview earlier this month. In the motion, it says that the court, the judge, the instructions that you all got as jurors were confusing. Did you find that, Saul?
I personally did not. I thought the judge gave us instructions throughout the trial, throughout the process, multiple times, and those instructions never changed, in my opinion, even up to the very last day before the moment we were released to go and deliberate. So those instructions were clear. I forget how many pages there were, and we used that set of instructions a number of times throughout the process of deliberation to go back and forth and make sure that we were understanding exactly what the judge and the law and the court allowed us to consider and what things we were not allowed to consider.
And during the deliberation process, did you find that you or maybe your other juror, potential other fellow jurors had questions about certain rules, or was it pretty easy to understand once the judge explained them and you had a written copy of them?
Yeah, since we had a written copy of them, it was easy for us to go back, reference, kind of refresh our mind or the clarity on what exactly the instructions were.
Okay. The part of the motion that concerned our interview was item number 3. Again, a juror interview revealed that the jury instructions were confusing and that he knew of evidence not submitted to the jury. And this came after our exchange about, I asked you your thoughts about how law enforcement handled the case. Having seen all the evidence, all the thousands of hours spent, how would you describe the efforts of law enforcement?
I think they did a good job with what they had. I don't know that you ever can really train for something like this. I think they did a good job with what they had. You question some things that happened, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'll probably never know, but you question, had some things been done different early on, would any of us be here?
Do you have an example of one of those things?
Well, and we didn't consider this during our deliberations because it was clear to us, the instructions were clear. Arizona, evidence and testimony is only for demonstrative purposes.
Sure, yeah.
And we all were very, very respectful of the rules, the directions that we were given. But now being removed from that, I think the police department in Phoenix had some significant red flags that, had they been followed up on, maybe we're not here.
Do you mean after Charles was shot?
Before and after.
Before and after. Before, yeah, you're right. Before he was shot, that body cam. I was referring to body camera footage that was captured by the police when Charles went to them and said his wife, Lori, had gone crazy and was calling him Ned Schneider. Now, that stuff was not admitted in court. And so I sort of clarified that in the interview. How did you know about that video footage if it wasn't admitted in court?
Yeah, so what happened is once our verdict was final and we were released from court Friday, as you can imagine, any or most people would have a bunch of questions in their mind. We were not allowed to search the case, look up the case on the internet, social media, watch any videos or news about the case throughout the trial. So, once we were done and we all got to go home and we were released by the judge. On Sunday, my wife and I were watching TV, and she said, "Hey, do you want to watch this? There's a new episode." And I said, "Cool, let's watch it." Obviously, I was intrigued, and that's when I learned that in Arizona, there's footage, video camera or video footage from an encounter with Charles, where he is clearly telling the police that his wife has, I believe, deemed him a zombie by the name, I think it was Ned. And to me, again, those were significant red flags about something that's not normal, that should be followed up on a little bit closer. So yeah, that was when I learned about that, and I'm sure a lot more. I can't really remember now, but that's when I watched the videos for the first time on Dateline NBC.
So the reference in your interview to me, just so it's clear, the verdict came down on Friday. You watched Dateline Sunday. We met for our interview Wednesday. And all of the jurors were allowed to leave the court once the verdict was in, and you could consume whatever media you wanted. You could go and binge watch every story ever done on this case. And that is where you learned about the body camera footage. You were not referring to that during the trial or the deliberations because you didn't know about it.
Exactly. I knew nothing about that until Sunday. Sunday was the first time that I learned, again, not just the footage, but I'm sure there's more now that I can't really remember. But yeah, that was the first time I learned. And I did do some more research. My wife showed me a couple of different news articles that talked about some of those things.
During the trial, just so we're clear, did you, during the trial, watch any media or read any stories about the case?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope. I was respectful to what the law, the court, the judge instructed us.
And you all, as jurors, as the judge said, all of that Arizona stuff, the defense objected to routinely throughout the trial, saying that the crimes, involving Charles and whatever happened in Arizona should not be brought into the Idaho case. As the judge instructed you all, you heard that, but that you didn't, those weren't the key factors when it came down to deciding the verdict.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's correct. And that's exactly why I had questions about the murder charge for Tylee, and perhaps was more hesitant because in my mind, that was the first murder for me that I could, should, and considered in this trial. A few days removed from proceedings, court, trial, the verdict, naturally, as I learned more about what happened in Arizona, I put more weight in my mind. But prior to deliberations and the verdict, no, I didn't see anything. I didn't read anything, didn't research anything. We stayed by the book, and to me, Tylee was the first murder charge for me to consider.
So, Saul, what did you think when you heard about this motion for a new trial?
So on last Friday, May 26th, when I learned about this motion for a new trial, at first, it didn't shock me because I remember during trial, at some point, one of the attorneys, the defense attorneys, stated that they planned to appeal this case. What did catch my attention was that one of the three reasons they list in the motion for a new trial was our interview, you and I, when there was mention of police video from Arizona. To be 100% clear, I watched Dateline NBC documentary on Sunday, May 14th, 2 days after the trial ended, and I was allowed to watch whatever I wanted. That was the first time I learned about additional video footage that we were not allowed to consider during our deliberation. we didn't have for us to consider during our deliberation. And I didn't know it existed until after the trial concluded. Again, I just want to be 100% clear about that.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
Just to be 100% clear, my fellow jurors and I feel that we did a very good job. We were fair to the process. We were honest to the process. And we didn't render our decision lightly in any of the charges. We took our time. When questions came up, we answered them. When we needed to take more time, we took the time because we felt like we wanted to be respectful of the entire process. And we knew that at the end of the day, whatever decision we came up with, we needed to stand by that decision and be okay with it.
Thank you.